here. Ready? Dude, you guys spoke though. You have a nice voice too this morning.
Hey everyone, we are going to go to the seminar, A History of Latinos and Missions, with Allan Matamoros. So I'm going to walk in and I'm going to try to set us up so we can hear the seminar. Enjoy. We're going to stay about halfway through the seminar, so enjoy.
I was totally tired. I flew from San Jose, Costa Rica to New York City, and then because I was looking for very cheap tickets, I was flying with Pakistan Airways, flying by plane. So, and then I flew the Pacific, I remember, and then landing in Pakistan, that American couple, they told me, well, welcome to Pakistan. I said, okay, yes. Are you tired? Yes. Are you hungry? Yes. Are you angry? Yes. Are you stupid? Oh, yes. So, and then I flew and traveled all over around throughout Pakistan without a word in English. I really don't recommend to do this. That brought a sense of isolation during the next 5 weeks. But just exploring Pakistan, visiting Karachi, Hyderabad, Pakistani Hyderabad, Lahore, Islamabad, Peshawar, Quetta, being with Muslims and breaking the stereotypes that we may have about Muslims, becoming friends with them, traveling all around. I crossed the border to Afghanistan and then came back. So finally, by the time when I came back to my country, I was totally convinced that we have to do something. I didn't know at that time that the entire missions world was changing. And just let me visit something very fast with you. So we got a vision for the unreached in our churches. At that time, many Latin Americans were embracing salvation in Jesus through the preaching of the gospel everywhere. And that was amazing. When I came to Jesus in 1982, entre amigos míos, yo digo, yo nací de nuevo en 1900, ¿qué te importa? No. In 1982, I was born again. I have no idea how to translate this, so you have to help. Speakers friends. So I have no idea about the growth of the church in Latin America, but we catch the vision for the unreached, understanding that in the 70s there was about 1.78 billion people, 1.8 billion people unreached, and in the following years it's going to be 2.2 billion people without access to the gospel. And then I totally ignore the size of the church, including every one of the denominations in the world, and ignoring that by the beginning of the 70s, 41% of the church were living in what we call today the South, Latin America, Africa, or Asia, and the majority of believers were living at that time in the US, Europe, Australia, New Zealand. I still remember one of my first missions conferences. I was sharing this yesterday in Vancouver, Canada, for the World Evangelical Alliance, the Missions Commission of the World Evangelical Alliance. At that time, many years ago, there was one brother from Africa, one guy from India, myself, one Filipino brother, and about 300 brothers from Europe and the US. That was the beginning of the 90s still. So a couple of years ago, I was attending another gathering, and the composition of the meeting was totally different. There was still a very strong presence from the old sending countries in Europe and States, but a very strong presence of Africans, Latins, and Asians participating actively in that kind of meeting. So the whole missions world is changing.
It's not.
Okay. Are you recording this? We are. Yes. Okay. Okay, welcome to Sunday school.
so sorry.
Okay. ¿Me oyen?
Sí.
Me. Okay. So, and more or less 64% of the church now live in the South, what we may call the South. And it's a huge change, my friends. And it's changing everything. Even the way we are, in my case, negotiating stuff. When we were growing in Costa Rica, she's very young, but at that time still missionaries were leading the churches. And one of the oldest denominations in Costa Rica, by 1990, still the board of directors of one of the most important evangelical denominations were composed basically by foreign missionaries. So it's been a big change. When we did in Costa Rica our first missions congress, and we did something that we called the Adopt a People campaign in 1992, adopting ethnic groups, unreached ethnic groups. I remember that I was working with a team doing a survey, a research, una investigación, pues. And then, to be honest with you, the most difficult part of the whole research were the American, European, foreign missionaries. In 1992, 93, and I say this with all of my love, my respect, and my admiration for the gringo community in my country. I mean, I said gringo with all of my love and my respect. So I live in a country, we have one of the largest Spanish-speaking schools where missionaries come to my country to learn the language. And my local church, a tiny Baptist church, I am a mix, so I was, but later on I can tell you how a Pentecostal guy ended in a Baptist church. So I am a Bapticostal. So, but my church is close by to the Instituto de Lengua Española in San Jose, Costa Rica. And between us, this is a secret, we have about 200 jokes about missionaries learning Spanish. And I have enjoyed every one of those jokes. I was telling yesterday that now we are living among Muslims. And now Muslims are making jokes about Latin Americans and the way we are learning or destroying Arabic. So it's the divine revenge. So, and I love it. I just love to see Mexicans or Argentinians learning Arabic, my friends. Because or Costa Ricans. My Mexican friends and Argentinian friends, they have a very, very strong accents. I don't know if you know. No? Do you know that? Yes. Yeah. México es lindo y querido. Lo digo con todo mi amor y con todo mi respeto. Órale, qué ondas, ¿no? But now switching to Arabic is como Assalamu alaikum. Praise God in Arabic is Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah. It's Alhamdulillah. And if you talk with Argentinians, Argentinians are Italians speaking Spanish. Do you know that? Che querido, pero yo te lo digo. Have you seen Argentinians before? But now, in Arabic, rather than Assalamu alaikum, is Assalamu alaikum. So that's the beginning of our movement. So we are just living a change in the composition of the global church. So 100 years ago, you'll see the sizes of the Christian community, and you can see that the weight of the church was so tied to the north for historical reasons. And now more and more community of believers are coming from the former missions fields. And it's such fantastic to be leading now an international gathering with my South Korean friends and African friends and Latino friends and the whole global community, trying to pursue the Great Commission in every place. It's just beautiful. And I do believe, we need the good planning of the Americans. We need the prayer attitude of my South Korean friends, but we need the fiesta party attitude of the Latin American world. And Africans as well, I have to say. The Africans are very alive. So, it's been changing. That's another picture of the same thing, about the composition of the church. Just a few weeks ago, I was in Nairobi, Kenya, a global mobilization consultation. And there was mission agencies from different parts of the world with, as you may imagine, with a very strong presence of African believers. And then I was sharing my journey with PMI. I promise I'm not promoting a mission society here, but I'm working with a Latin American mission society. Its name is Pueblos Musulmanes Internacional. And we are a 200 members community of Latin Americans living long-term among Muslims. So we are living in Morocco, Mauritania, Tunisia, Algeria, Egypt, Lebanon, Jordan, Turkey, Kyrgyzstan, Kazakhstan, y todos los que están por ahí. India, Indonesia, we're Latinos together for learning and sharing, making mistakes, ups and downs and problems and difficulties. And I was just sharing our journey as a Latino community trying to do missions, combining in one team. You may have Mexicans with Argentinians and Brazilians. Yes, Brazilians and Argentinians together in one team. Lo que el fútbol no lo hizo, la gran comisión lo está haciendo. So, and we have made a lot of mistakes, but that's another story. And we were there, and it was beautiful that by the end of the presentation, I had a kind of round table with brothers from Malawi, Rwanda, Burundi, Ethiopia, and Kenya, and a Costa Rican fellow. We were praying together and planning how to interchange experiences from the African missiological perspective with the Latin American missiological practice. It's just a new day. I remember the days, and there's no problem with this. I want to be careful. But when we were creating our first mission society in Costa Rica, FEDEMEC, the Costa Rican Evangelical Mission Society, I was appointed as the director of our mission when I was 24 years old. Do you remember that I flew to Pakistan? When I came back, the director was resigning, and I have to give up my plan with my wife to go to Pakistan, and I was appointed with 24 years old, leading our first national mission society. Ellos estaban desesperados. So, and then from scratch, we were sending Costa Ricans overseas for a decade. And then we applied to PMI, Pueblos Musulmanes Internacional. We have 23 Latin American nationalities in our mission. So, and I was serving for 2 years in the missions field, and maybe other day I can't tell you why, but we were in Morocco, my wife and I with my kids, destroying Arabic. And I was telling them yesterday that I was taking my first Arabic classes. Can you imagine this? My wife, Jose Pablo, was 7 years old, Priscilla was 4 years old, and we were in Morocco in the middle of nowhere receiving Arabic classes. Then our professor told us, okay, for you Latin Americans, it's going to be good, some of the Arabic sounds. She was lying. So, and then she said, for example, your jota. Casi todos hablan español aquí, ¿no? La jota de Juan, la jota de Javier. And then she said, it's going to be very, very easy for you. Because in Arabic, we have ha, and ha. And I said, no entendí. So we were there growing and learning how to do it. I was talking about the composition of the church. So now we are building, we still have our partnership with the US and Europe, but more and more Latin American churches are creating partnerships with churches of the South with some difficulties. But then a Guatemalan church partnering with a church in Hyderabad in order to reach out the Decani Muslim community in that city. Can you imagine this? It's such a beautiful, it's a beautiful mezcolanza. So, do you need translation for the mezcolanza word or? Oh, melting. Melting? Combining. Oh, whatever. Okay, so more and more South-South combinations. So, and for me, this is a last picture of what I am talking regarding the weight of the church and how is just North America plays a very important role in the Great Commission, but at the same time, you can see how the Latin world and Africa and some Asian countries are becoming very important partners in missions. And we have to come to the same table, setting aside our perceptions, and try to honor God in the new missions world. And I have to tell you, it's not been an easy road. But just by God's grace, for God's sense of humor, you know, my last name is Matamoros, and Matamoros is Muslim killer. And I am working with Muslims. You know, I don't know if you can see the combination. You know, Assalamu alaikum, Allan, the Muslim killer, God's love you, and he has a plan for you. I was in Madrid applying for a visa. I've been traveling with my Costa Rican passport, and the problem of Costa Rica, you already know what it is. Nobody knows where Costa Rica is. It's a trauma that I have, so I'm just telling you. And I was there in Madrid applying for my visa. I was sit down in the hall of the Tunisian embassy, and then suddenly from the consul, La Oficina Consular, the consul office, I heard somebody laughing. And then, you know, you may have your ideas about Muslims and the whole thing. And then this guy came to me. There was one Arab Tunisian authority. And then he came to me and told me, "Excuse me, are you Allan Matamoros?" And I said, "Well, maybe." So, and then he said, "Can I ask you something?" "Yes, sir." "Do you know what your last name means?" He said, "Yes, you have no idea." And then he said, "Don't worry, we have never denied before a visa for historical reasons." So they gave me my visa. So there's a big change in our practices. I want to mention one of the most important historical factors in our neighborhood. We are going to see later on that since the very beginning, when the first generation of Americans were coming to Latin America, many churches were sending workers to their own countries, in Mexico or in Guatemala or in Costa Rica or in Brazil or in Argentina. So, but we were waiting for decades before we were able to see something more organized. So that's why I want to talk about Comibam. How many of you have heard about Comibam before? So the Ibero-American Missionary Cooperation. In 1983, 84, Louis Bush. How many of you have heard about the 1040 window? 1040 window? Okay, Louis Bush was related with that. During the 80s, Louis Bush, a missionary kid, Argentinian missionary kid, he was leading a Central American mission church in San Salvador, Iglesia Nazaret, and he began to organize with pastors all over around Latin America the idea of having a huge missions congress and to be launching the idea of Latinos going to serve among the unreached. So they were organizing el Congreso Misionero Iberoamericano in 1987. And there was very well-known names in the Latin world like Louis Bush or Federico Bertuzzi. I don't know if you have heard about Federico, but many of the books, of missions books in Spanish were written or edited by Federico Bertuzzi, a Baptist Argentinian pastor, and one of the founders of my own mission, PMI. And there were a number of leaders, and they were organizing this Congress in Sao Paulo, Brazil. 3,500 Latin Americans gathered for a week like here, just to be together praying and seeking God's face regarding what we are going to do as Latinos towards the Great Commission. And that was a very starting point for our movement. By the end of the week, our brother Luis, representing the committee, was preaching, and then he said, let me say this in Spanish and later on in English. He said, hermanos, el tiempo para solamente ser campo misionero se ha terminado. Latinoamérica tiene que ser no solo un campo misionero, sino una fuerza misionera. We have to become not just a missions field, but we have to become a missions force. And my friends, that was like a prophetic voice, because shaken the whole church during the 80s. It's been a long journey with difficulties, with our crisis in Latin America. Is a shame, but we are experts creating political problems. If you need some advice, we can tell you many things. So I've been leading a Latin American Mission Society for 14 years. I'm finishing now. And almost every year, we could expect different crises in the Latin world. So then, when I was very new in my position, that was the first Argentinian crisis. Do you remember the Corralito Financiero? Corralito means that you cannot take your money out from the bank, basically. And we had at that time dozens of Argentinians living in very remote places of the Muslim world. What we were going to do to face that problem. So, and then our Hispanics, mis hermanos hispanos here in the U.S., you were so brave. So a group of churches in LA area, they were supporting Argentinian missionaries for some years. That was beautiful. Argentina was closed. There's no way to take your money out from the country with a lot of difficulties. We were just using the mercado negro, I don't know, the black market, may I say? Yep. So we were, Latinos we are experts being illegals. So, and then we were creating ways to take the money out of Argentina. But these Hispanic churches in LA area, they were helping us a lot. And I just enjoy. I remember visiting these churches in California and telling them, hermanos y hermanas, tenemos un problema. Tenemos un montón de argentinos allá en el mundo musulmán. Nos pueden echar una mano. Y muchas de las iglesias nos ayudaron. Many of those churches were helping us to support Argentinian brothers. But then Hugo Chavez appeared up in the picture. Hugo Chavez from Venezuela. And then Venezuela goes to the same direction, closing the banking system, no US dollars, and we have a bunch of Venezuelans serving overseas. And then we have Nicaraguans. In Nicaragua, they have their own problems. And then you have Brazil, the giant Brazilian economy, but with ups and downs and devaluation. So we are becoming experts dealing with problems with currencies and political problems, but the church is sending workers out by the grace of God. So Comiban was born in 1987, and then I was talking with Decio Carvalho, the director of Comiban recently. There was about less than 1,000 Latinos serving overseas at that time in 1987. We were starting from scratch. There was some good efforts in Brazil. Brazil is our big brother, and they've been doing missions for a while. So, but there were very few workers, and then over the years, finally, it seems like there's about now 15,000 Latin American workers. There's about 300 national sending agencies, and what we call movimientos misioneros nacionales, national missionary movements. And we have our problems, but the movement is growing. As you may imagine, we are facing our own situations. There's a number of Latin Americans. You here in the States are so privileged. Many of you speak pretty good English, but many of our Latin American brothers and sisters in Latin America, they don't speak English. And we destroy English with elegance. And by the way, tomorrow I'm going to destroy elegance with elegancia, your language. So, and it's been a long journey with many questions. We've been, during the last 20 years, we've been asking ourselves, what is going to be the role of the internet?
All right, so that was a history of Latinos and missions. We're going to move on to another seminar. The Story Project involved arts and evangelism. So, all right, hope to see more of y'all there.